Unfinished business. PR number 20429, a resolution approving the application of Viking Enterprises, Inc., DBA, City Ambulance Service for an ambulance agreement. I need somebody to get it on the floor. Councilman Doucette.
So moved.
Councilwoman Frank.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve PR number 20429. Questions? Councilman Doucette.
Yes. Chief.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Chief? I was looking at your memo to council. I have a couple of questions. The first one being, when you went and inspect this ambulance service, one of your statement to council was that there was no proof of medical malpractice was provided.
That's correct.
Okay, so they have nothing. They can't get no proof.
We told them to supply us with that, and we never received it. They did send copies of their other insurance, but there wasn't any that specifically covered malpractice, and we asked them to send us more documentation on that, and have not received any.
Okay, so you tell them to send it. Okay, another thing you had on your memo was the 911 service that they didn't have it, so you couldn't have a history. Did they say they cannot provide it?
A history?
No. You said they don't have a current 911.
History with 911.
You said right here.
I mean, I guess they're saying they can provide 911, but they have never done it in the past.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm getting. When I read your memo, and I wrote down, then I went and read their applications, and in the application they were talking about if they had to, so some conflict there. So actually, if they had to, in order to receive approval, then they would have to be able to meet that. But that's a requirement, right?
Well, the requirement from the ordinance is that they have to provide us with a background of previous 911 service, and they don't have that background.
Right, they don't have it. Okay, good. Now, last question. This application that ambulance services placed to us, it's a $1,000 for the application, and it's non-refundable, right?
That's correct.
The deposit, okay. And the last thing I have for you, on your memo, you said that based on ambulance service applied for a permit in May 2010. Southeast Texas EMS applied for one in May 2010. And Guardian applied for a permit May 28, 2010. Concord EMS applied for a permit on July 2017. And all these permits were denied by council.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so what did that have to do with this application?
That's just the history of the in the background.
Okay, and the reason I brought that up, right, is I have some concerns about this, because last ambulance service, now this one here, I have no problem with. I'm not speaking about it or not, but I want some clarification today. The last ambulance service that applied, it was like this was wrong with them, that was wrong with them, and the owners never really came back, because I wanted to really hear what they had to say and gist of it. You recommended, I think, that time too, that you recommend only one service?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's so ironic that you would recommend one service, but yet no. When Acadiana applied an application in this city, we had 2 ambulance services operating in this city.
Yes, sir. We've had as many as 3.
Well, no. Let me say it again. When Acadiana applied for an application in this city, we had 2 services that was serving the city.
That's correct.
But we don't see no need for another one. But at that time, it was okay to add a third one. And the reason I'm saying this, I don't feel that we're comfortable looking out for our citizens when we make decisions. Now, if a person not qualified, that's fine. But to say there's not a need, I don't know about that. Because your truck have to respond with EMTs if they're not there. And you have responded.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so, but that's the ambulance service that they want to provide here. Okay, citizens have said it was a long response, and you covering for them. And you tell...
I'm not covering for anyone.
No. If your truck goes, okay, and they're not there...
Our truck responds to all EMS calls.
I know, Chief, but I'm saying your truck responding, but they're not responding, okay? So what I'm saying is, if the city, if you as a chief feel that the city doesn't need but one service, then we should change the ordinance to say that we will have only one service. We can make it exclusive. Because when we make it exclusive, Chief, then we stop people from paying us $1,000 to apply when we're going to recommend we only need one.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So at the end of the day, oh, yeah, you can make the recommendation. But when citizens' lives are at stake and that ambulance service responded, then we have to be the one to answer if we provide them the opportunity to have service. Because when I look at people saying only one, exclusive rights, I'm saying we're putting all our eggs in one basket. And as a public servant, I look at that as, should one person own all the gas stations in Port Arthur? Should they own all of the supermarkets in Port Arthur? Will the citizens have a choice? Will the citizens be afforded to give the best? When you have only one, you got what you got. Now, you could recommend it, but there are citizens out there that has a say. That's what this is about. And when someone says, I recommend only one, and that same person was here with three, Chief, we're going to have to really put this one back. I'm going to put this one back on the agenda for discussion. And I think the council needs to issue directive. Because I'm not, this has got nothing against Acadiana. But the fact of the matter is, it's about serving citizens in this city. And citizens have complained to me about an ambulance not responding. And you know, I'm not going to even say that that's a big deal, because you probably say that in any city. But at the same token, we must ensure that we give them the best opportunity there is. That's what we're here for. And if we say no to somebody, we have to know it's beyond a doubt is no. But free enterprise, and people keep paying $1,000, and at the end of the day, we don't think it needs another one. I don't like doing business that way. Not as long as I'm sitting here. And that's just me. I'm not speaking for the council. But this topic will come back on the agenda. And I think you need to really be prepared to come before and let us know if we need to make this all exclusive. Because understand, when we do ordinance, but when we leave, those ordinances remain. And when we do an ordinance, it's not about us, because we come and go. They remain, but the citizens, they live with them. And when we make ordinance, it's not for us. It's not how we feel. It's for the best for them. And when we deny people choices, we have to be able to tell them why we're denying them choices. When we tell them we're doing this for the best of you, we got to be able to explain it to them. And when we explain it, they must clearly understand it's for their betterment.
Well, Councilman, as always, my recommendation is just that, a recommendation. It lies with the council to make the final decisions, and I understand that. But I will give the recommendation that I believe is in the best interest of the citizens.
Well, Chief, that's a good thing, and I have no reasons to question you. I've been knowing you since 2010, so I have no reason to question anything you say as being professional, and you're looking out for what they.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But we don't all agree, and a lot of times you look at things in the perspective of being a police chief and working with people, and I, as a council member, I look at it as listening to what people are telling me out there and taking all of that into consideration. So, I'm quite sure that we understand one another's positions, okay?
Yes,
so
sir.
Don't think that I'm questioning your integrity. I will go on the record to say I am not questioning your integrity. But recommendation and decisions, I will question.
Councilman Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, again, I respect your comments and your recommendation. I respect that. Not question your integrity also. But the thing about it is, we have a system that's set up where it's set up like free enterprise occurs, okay? But when we have by people applying and paying to apply for services, and we accept their money for applying, but our mentality is that we don't really need you, we got what we need. That's the mentality that we don't need. I strongly believe in free enterprise, but I believe that, hey, everybody that apply for business in this city should fulfill all the requirements, and so as long as they fill the requirements, I think that free enterprise is very important to our city because it creates competition. And it's just like anything else, Chief. If you're buying food or getting gas or anything, if you don't get good services, then you have the right to go somewhere else. So that's the same way I feel about this predicament here, that if we have somebody come in and try to do this particular services and they don't do well, the citizens won't use them. But the mentality of showing that this city has a mentality of free enterprises is very important to this city. And we can't come to the conclusion that, yeah, we believe in free enterprises, but in this particular area or any particular area, we just got this one and it's good enough. I don't think that should be the mentality. And again, like I said, we're not questioning integrity, but I strongly believe in free enterprise. I think Acadian Ambulance has done a great job, a tremendous job. I think that any competition come up against them, they can outdo that competition. And the citizens still have the choice of what they want to choose, who they want to choose. If they don't give good services, they choose whoever gives the best services. So I just think that, we should maintain that mentality of free enterprise and allow people that has the requirements to come into our city and do business. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Just listen to some of the comments, Chief. When you make your analysis of choosing or making your recommendation, are you taking consideration self-reporting from a current company that we're using, how many trucks they have in the city limits at that particular time?
It's all based on response times. They report their response times to us monthly, and they have met the response times as required by the ordinance.
The ordinance. So we're still around 7-8 minutes?
8 minutes is
Okay.
the response
Okay.
time, yes, sir.
Okay. Then, that, again, you're taking those things that you get from self-reporting to you,
Yes.
making that decision?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, Chief, I have no other lights. There's a gentleman in the audience, Councilman Doucette, Councilman Lewis, if you would please approach the microphone before we vote. I know, man. I was trying to tell you at the same time. We're about to vote on it.
Appreciate y'all. Is this mic on, or do you have to?
Company.
Yeah, if they want to. Did they want to speak?
Well, you going to take it act?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead, Councilman.
yeah, Willie Lewis, 2301 Lakeshore Drive. The free enterprise system always works. I appreciate you guys taking care of that. HEB, the owner of HEB came down here to try to get us, brought us the whole Catholic Church, filled up his whole side of this audience, to try to get us to block HEB. We moved that road, HEB is here. They got several presidents here. The free enterprise system works. Guess who else came to me and asked me to help them to come in? Arcadia, when we had the 2 services already here. I say, I'm for the free enterprise system. I don't care what they say. I got all kind of phone calls. We don't need any more service. No, let the free enterprise system stand. Everybody ought to have the right to fail. You know, you have to have free enterprise. Look how HEB, look how well they're doing. And now they get ready to put a superstore in. We got to stay with the free enterprise system. I helped them come in here. Now maybe, just maybe, because some of these companies comes in here, then later on they'll sell out. They'll buy the company. Then maybe there's something legal that can be done about that. I don't know. You have to research that. Maybe something can be done. I don't know. Because some of them come in, 4 or 5 of them have come in here. So, but there's another thing I'm very concerned about. And the Attorney General gave us the right. We had a $35 fee. The Attorney General gave us the right to charge $50,000 for permits. What happened to it? $50,000. Why was that? Why is it down to $1,000 now? What are we getting to get rid of the $50,000? City of Port Arthur was the only city that was the Attorney General wrote that opinion for. Nobody else could use it, simply because we was investing $150,000 to respond in the emergency response. And the Attorney General wrote that opinion, and city attorney he can give it to you all, that the city of Port Arthur has the right to recover something, and that was reasonable. Even though it kicked in the face of kicked in the face of the kickback law, they call it. They had a kickback law. It's on the books. You can't do certain things. But they allowed us to go with that because we had the right to recover some of those experiences. And $50,000 for permits was reasonable. And he specifically said the city of Port Arthur is the only one can use that. No other city can use it. And that's still on the book. And y'all need to reinstate the $50,000. That stopped all of those fly-by-night people from coming up here. We used to get, every 6 months, it was 2 or 3 of them coming and applying. We put the $50,000 in place, they went away. Y'all need to reconsider putting that back in place. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to this topic before we vote? Please approach the podium now. Come on up, Ms. Jones. Oh, excuse me. Yep, Ms. Jones, I guess go ahead, boss. No, go ahead.
Hello, good morning. My name's Dean Harriman. I'm the Director of Operations for City Ambulance Service in Houston. So, as you pointed out, we did say in our application if we had to provide 911 service. That's not something that we do. We provide emergency transfer service and non-emergency transfer service throughout the whole state. Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, College Station, Corpus Christi. I have a thing laid out, but I'm going to kind of go off of it. The reason that we came to Port Arthur is because we've been approached by owners of several medical facilities, nurses, staff members, and patients at medical facilities here in Port Arthur that have had a lot of trouble getting emergency transfers going to Houston, discharges going home to the nursing homes, and those kinds of things. We've had reports that they're sometimes waiting for discharges to the nursing home for up to 6 hours. from the hospital here in Port Arthur. And I've heard, they may be anecdotal, but they're from nurses, that they've had to wait 4 to 8 hours for transfers for ICU patients to Houston and to Galveston. So that is extremely, extremely high above the industry standard here in Texas. The industry standard is 30 minutes to an hour. City Ambulance, we are very strategic with how we place our ambulances. We don't do a normal transfer model. It's more like a 911 model. And we base off of historical call volume and what we expect to be happening. So we do like 1 truck stations instead of having like a station with like 6 or 8 trucks. We have 1 truck, small 1 truck stations that can more easily cover areas. So with that model throughout the state in our operation, over 85% of our emergency and non-emergency transfer calls we arrive on scene in less than 30 minutes. And for our emergency calls for transfer, which are from facilities, not from homes, we arrive on scene 93% of the time in less than 15 minutes for those calls. So for those strokes and those heart attacks and those types of things and those critical ICU transfers that have to get to definitive care really quickly, we do those things for our facilities and for those patients. And to me, it seems like when you have a one-person system and they have no recourse. So if you're in a facility and you call for an ambulance and they say it's going to be 6 hours, you have to wait. There's nothing you can do about it. It's illegal for you to call another ambulance service. If they respond, they're going to get a ticket. We get calls all the time from several emergency rooms here. And they say, hey, we can't get an ambulance for 8 hours. Can you come pick up the patient? I said, legally, we can't. We can't help you. I'm sorry. And there are facilities that we cater to all across the state. You know, we service them in every other community in the state, from Dallas, San Antonio, and it's just, the problem that I see is that the current ordinance that y'all have, it has a requirement for response times of 8 minutes for emergency calls, but y'all don't have a requirement for non-emergency calls. Let's see, I have it written down right here. In Georgetown, Texas, a city kind of similar, 63,000 population, they have an ordinance with a franchise, kind of like the city of Austin does. So they allow 3 ambulance service to have franchise license. They do provide the 911 service themselves through the fire department, but they allow 3 ambulance services through franchise fees, and they're high. They pay 3.5% of everything they earn in the city goes to the city. And then they also pay like I think it's around $5,000 franchise fee. But they require all unscheduled calls for transfer to be responded to in less than 59 minutes and 59 seconds. So less than 1 hour. If they're above that, they're not in spec from the ordinance. I looked at a lot of cities, 10 cities in Texas, that all have a similar population to Port Arthur. I looked at the 5 that were higher and the 5 that were lower in population grouped. And there is only, I think, 3 of them that even have ambulance permits. And only 1 of them has anything similar to an exclusive permit, and that's City of Galveston, and they still issue permits. It just has to go through the ambulance authority instead of through the city. So it's a really important thing to look at. Everyone wants to look at the 911 calls, but people are forgetting those ICU patients and those nursing home patients. And it's not just that nursing home patient waiting to be discharged back. When those beds are full and those nurses are understaffed, they don't have beds. So you have people waiting in the ER for hours that can't get to a bed because they can't discharge the patient. So you have delays all through the healthcare system because of the delay in getting patient care. So, I just want to say to the council, I was here last year when Concord came. I sat right over there during the proceedings, And I've been keeping up with it, and I think it's important, not just for City Ambulance, but for the city of Port Arthur to provide for its citizens options. You know, if I don't live here, I live in League City. But if I lived here and I wanted to go to a doctor's appointment in Houston and I couldn't get out of bed and I don't like Acadian, I don't have a choice. I have to call Acadian. If I don't like the medic that shows up at my house or they're rude and I want to call another ambulance service, I don't have that option. I have to call them. No one else will come. If they tell me, oh, I can't take you on Tuesday, I can only take you on Thursday, I can't do it. I have to wait till Thursday. So I think it's an important thing to look at, and I think that really it's more than 911. It's more than 911. People forget about those other patients, and there's a lot of them. You guys have a hospital here. You have 2 emergency rooms here. You have multiple nursing homes here, and all those patients need transferred. It's not all about 911. So, all right. Thank you, guys.
You. Ms. Jones? Oh, did you have Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
This is John Menard Jones, 640 East 10th Street. I'm speaking for professional or advice. Worked at hospitals. I also have used the hospital since I've been a senior citizen, and not the ambulance service. And with all the companies here, we are surrounded by refineries. Thank God we haven't had any fires. We don't have a fire, nothing to cover fire in the existence of Port Arthur. And with the hospitals have been taken away from us, St. Mary's, really. And they on St. Mary's transfer patients with strokes every day to Houston by air. And that could be eliminated by using ambulance service. And I still say 2 ambulance service would not hurt Port Arthur at all for medical, because things have been cut down in the medical field here in Port Arthur. And nursing home, it's true what he says. They have to wait so long. The hospitals hold their patients so long before air service can get to these people, to get them to Houston. I'll say again, all the companies we have to be on call. We pray that it doesn't happen, but we have to be ready for this type of situation. And so I've used them, and I called them out, the name of that company you all turning down. They were very professional. I was in so much pain that he was able to give me something to release me before I got to the hospital. So again, we need people that is professional, knowing what they're doing, and knowing medical. So we have to think about it more than one way, because sometimes we have certain companies that are not professional. And I used them for my father, and the guy was very unprofessional. And myself, I'm using them very unprofessional. It seems as if they feel like, hey, I'm here, you got to take me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Mr. Broussard?
Sorry about the blue shirt. I was supposed to be golfing, but I'm going to just put something on your mind real quick. My name is Robert Broussard, citizen of Port Arthur, 5190 Prospect, also 4173 39th Street, Omnibus Home Health. We've been in business 25 years, over 25 years in Port Arthur. We take more Medicaid than any other business. We help our citizens, or we help our people, okay? No insurance company pays 100% of anything. So think about those patients that have the frequent flyer miles. That's all I want to say, okay? You got to think about, if they don't have an option, something falls back on them. It burdens the family, it burdens somebody, it burdens them. So, I mean, I was here when Concord was here also, and that was a really good company. They came highly recommended from Dr. Kirk Williams. He built the medical center of Southeast Texas. This company also comes highly recommended from Dr. Kirk Williams. So I'm just saying, just think about it. If they fail, they fail. But think about those patients that have those higher frequent miles, man. You know, not every insurance company pays 100% of anything. All right? That's all I want to say. All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to this topic, please? Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, real quick.
I'm sorry.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I don't know your name. What's the gentleman's name?
Okay.
Yes, the
Mr.
owner.
Broussard.
No, I'm sorry. What's your name? If you don't mind coming to the podium. Yes, and Councilman Doucette, myself, when you kind of said some things, we sparked our attention, really.
Okay.
So you said it was 6-hour waiting time for a non-emergency transfer, and you've gotten calls and that data that you have like that. Who are you reporting that data to? Because that's going to be one of the reasons and how we decide what decisions we need to make.
Right.
Hearing things like that. You also said you're getting phone calls from nurses in hospitals about, waiting time. I mean, if I'm having a heart attack or a stroke, I mean, I don't want to wait 30 minutes. But that data and information that you're getting or somebody's providing for you, who are you giving it to so it can get to this council or the chief? Or I want to know that.
We haven't given that information to anybody. We're not recording it. It's like I said, it's kind of anecdotal. There's just nurses that have talked to us, nurses that have called us, facilities that have called us, owners of facilities that we do business with elsewhere, and they're saying, "Man, we need you. We need you. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. We're waiting forever, and we need another service to come in and do this for us." So I can't point to any specific documentation that we have on that. But there was going to be a couple people that came today to talk, medical director for one of the facilities here in Port Arthur, but he's on a medical mission and couldn't come today. But it is an issue that we have. I think that if you ask any of the facility staff at any of the emergency rooms and hospitals, I mean, it's an issue. And I don't necessarily blame Acadian for that problem. It's hard to provide a 911 service and provide a transfer service at the same time. You can't pull your 911 trucks off the street to provide that transfer service because now you can't answer that 911 call. So you're either going to have to staff extra ambulances, which is really hard to do in today's climate. We're short on paramedics, and those critical calls need paramedics. Everyone's short on paramedics. The state's short on paramedics, several thousand. It's just a matter of they might not just be able to do it. And another service being able to come in to kind of help with those gaps in coverage in those certain areas would be beneficial to the community. So,
thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Question. Appreciate it. I have no lights for you at this time. Okay. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. Please approach the mic. State your name and address for the record.
Elizabeth Pettingill, Groves, Texas, 5500 Whitaker Street. I am one of the nurses that work at a hospital locally. I work several hours a week, and I transfer. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. If you speak a little closer. No worries.
I speak to patients all the time. I call Acadian all the time. They usually we'll be there in less than an hour. And an hour goes by, and then we'll get another call. Well, we're held up. We got some emergency calls. We'll be there in a couple more hours. Let me give you a scenario. You have a patient. You have a family member. I'm here as a patient advocate. I'm not biased to any. Sorry, I'm nervous.
No worries.
I'm not biased to any ambulance service. I'm here for everybody. I'm here for all of you. I'm here for everybody. I see this all the time. I go into a patient's room, and they're like, when am I going? My family member needs to go to Houston, or they're on hospice, and they want to go home to die. And we're like, well, we're waiting, but we can't tell them to come. We can't tell them, like, well, you need to stop that emergency because we need to come. But we know we can't stop an emergency. But as I said, I'm here for everybody. We have waited up to 6 hours, maybe even longer. I had a patient just the other day that they were going home, had highly dementia, and they were going back to a nursing home. And I called the ambulance before I got off shift at 7 o'clock. I don't get off until sometimes 11. You know, I'm there for 15, 16 hours a day. And they were there. They didn't get picked up by the ambulance until 12:30 that night, going back to the nursing home. And this lady was 95 years old. And, you know, and her family calls me and they're like, we haven't got a call that's saying that she's been there yet. And we're still waiting on an ambulance. And it's hard because we're their face. They see us. They're like, can you call again? Can you call again? And they're like, well, we're on our way. And then I had a situation where the billing would call us and say, well, we need a copy of their H&P and their clinicals. And I'm like, well, who are you? And they're like, well, we're Acadian. And I'm like, well, we give a packet too whenever they get transferred out and with the ambulance. And they're like, well, that's with them. This is Louisiana Acadian. We need a copy. I'm like, I can't verify that information. That's HIPAA violation. And they're like, well, we're going to put a stop on that transfer. So if they put a stop on that transfer, who do we call? Wow. And so we're forced. I don't know what happened in that situation because it was already after 11 o'clock. I had to go home. I don't know what they did, but I don't know if they went ahead and gave that information, but that's illegal to just fax over information. We don't know who they are, and they can't have their ambulance company come pick it up. And that we give them a packet. We have the H&P in there. We have all the patient information that they need. And they're like, well, no, we can't get it from them. We have to get it from you. That makes no sense whatsoever. So.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Ann Reid. I'm Community Relations Supervisor with Acadian Ambulance. I live at 3601 Roanoke here in Port Arthur. I am a citizen here. I live here. I work here. I raise my family here. And I've worked for Acadian since 2008. Actually, I came back. I worked for Acadian. I worked for MetroCare EMS. I was here with MetroCare for many years. When Acadian came to request a permit for the city of Port Arthur, it was in association with Acadian and MetroCare merging. Acadian didn't come in as a third service at that time. We were just taking over the MetroCare contract or permit at that time. So, just for a point of clarification on that, we do have a very good working relationship with our nursing homes, with our hospitals. To Ms. Pettingill, I am so sorry for your patient that waited. We are going to look into why there was a delay in care. But if you have a problem, look, I'll be happy to give you my direct cell phone number. You can call me anytime. I answer my phone. You can ask any of them. They can call, and I answer my phone. It's 409-284-4041. I will give you my card before you leave. If you ever have a patient waiting for any amount of time, you call me.
1 second, Ms. Reid. Point of order. State your point, please.
Ms. Reid.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The question, you got some remarks. Let's do that. We're not going to discuss Acadiana this morning. That's not our agenda item. Okay?
But it was Acadians was brought up, so that's why I wanted to address what was coming to us. So as far as
Ms. Reid, we don't want
service,
but you've been here many times. We know the service you provide. I think everybody made it clear this is not about Acadiana and its services. Okay, I think that's made that clear. So, you know, we know about Acadiana. We have no problem with Acadiana. This is not about Acadiana. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. That's why we wanted to kind of limit, because I don't think you could tell us anything.
And I haven't hit my 2 minutes, I know. But I'll step back and allow two of my coworkers to address council, if that's okay with you.
If you're going to address the item that we're discussing.
That's fine.
Not Acadiana.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mayor,
Morning.
Council.
State your
Brandon
name, too.
Hebert.
Yeah, there you go.
Acadian Ambulance, 7760 Summerwin, Beaumont. I've been before you many times, and I will say this. I do agree that should the city choose to have competition in this city, it be done through a competitive bidding process, an RFP process. Street-level competition in EMS does not work. We self-subsidize ourselves to run 911 calls by running these calls out of the hospitals. That's how we operate this 911 system at no cost to the taxpayers. Now, as for individual instances and longer responses, there's lots of variables. There are many insurance companies that require pre-authorizations prior to transport based on certain policies. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in that and things and red tape that we have to deal with. On Thursday and Friday nights, we have ambulances parked at football games, standing by while we're running many 911 calls, patients going to Houston. All the while, there may be a discharged patient waiting to go, while they're comfortably in their hospital bed waiting to go home, and we have to triage those calls. But we certainly don't take our commitment to the community lightly, which is an indication of why we're here today. Operating a system as busy and as vulnerable as Port Arthur's is with more than one provider is not only risky, it's dangerous. The closest ambulance will not get to every call. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make
one second. Oh, you're doing a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I make-
Councilman Doucette.
I make a motion that we pull this item and put it on the agenda for a workshop.
He
we're
said
No,
remove.
remove it.
There's a motion on the floor to remove item PR number 20429. Councilwoman Moses.
So moved.
The second, it's been moved and second that we remove PR number 20429. All those in favor? Aye. Opposals? Ayes have it. We'll now move to